Hey everyone, it's David with davidspassage.com, and today I'm coming to you with another stove build video. In a couple weeks I'm heading to Isle Royale, and one of the things they don't like you doing so much is making fires everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build actually a wood gasification stove. This type of stove is very, very efficient at burning the wood that you put in it, and there's all kinds of really great resources on how to build one of these, and the technology has been around for eons, but there are some particular articles that I found really handy, and the one that I'm thinking of offhand is the one at theultimatehang.com. If you get a chance, go over there. They've got a really cool step-by-step tutorial on how to build it. And so the one I'm going to build is going to be similar to theirs, and so I thought I'd take you along for the ride while I build it, and then we'll do a little burn test with it. But basically, you're going to need, a few things. First of all, you're going to need a quart paint can. Okay, this is just I bought this at Home Depot for I think $3. You're going to need a Progresso soup can. You're going to need a tuna fish can. Also, it's really handy to have one of these. This is a stepper bit. I'll be using this to make holes in it. It's also really handy to have a Dremel tool for this with a cutoff wheel. And the reason why I say that's handy, you don't have to have all of this stuff if you have some other way to do what we're going to do. But for drilling, 3/4 inch size holes, you might just find a stepper bit to be the easiest thing. You're also going to need some hardware cloth. This is a mesh cloth you can buy at most hardware stores. Now, I will say this as a caveat, is that sometimes this is galvanized. You need to make sure it's better to not use galvanized wire if you can, or from what I've read and understand, you can burn it off, but you don't want to cook with it until you've burned the galvanization off or whatever for the first few times, because galvanized metal is, the fumes of it are toxic, and so you don't want to do that. But we are going to use hardware cloth. I don't know that this is galvanized or not, but you just have to be careful. And so just as a precaution, I'm going to burn this a few times through, not only to test the stove, but just to make sure that I'm not getting any craziness in my food. So to start, on the open side of the can, what I did was I marked 8 evenly spaced marks. I just eyeballed it, but just as evenly as I could, I marked 8 marks. Then on the side, I went ahead and drew a line just a little bit more than halfway, about 5/8 inch from the top of the can. And then at those marks, I put a little cross so I can know where my bit is going to go in. The next thing I'm going to do is just taking my screw and hammer, I'm going to tap in some starter holes just to guide the bit I'm going to use here. Just going to lightly do this, just enough so there is a hole that will keep the bit on target. Now, if you have an awesome shop with all kinds of vices and tools and such, I would strongly suggest that you do this in there. I'm ignoring a lot of safety precautions right now in order to bring you this video. But the next step that I'm going to do, I'm using a croquet mallet for a sort of brace here to keep it there, and I'm using this stepper bit, and I'm going to take it just down to 11/16 for now, but I'm just going to get this thing started. I think the key here is to hold it gently so that you're not shoving it into the can. You just want to hold it gently so that you don't dent your can up right now. To start, while I'm on this croquet thing, I'm just bringing it in about 1/4 inch, and I'll go all the way around and do that first. Now what I'm going to do is I took it off the little croquet mallet bench, and I'm going to widen each one of these holes to, I'm going to start with 11/16. I may go as high as 3/4, but I'm going to see if I can get away with 11/16 first. I'm going to take this real slow so that I don't dent up this can while I'm doing it. At this point, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Progresso soup can, sit it on top of that paint can, try to get it real close to center. That looks pretty good. I'm going to take my permanent marker here and trace around that. So that's right up to that can lid. Hopefully you can kind of see that. And so the next step in this process, I'm just going to use sort of the cutoff wheel of with my Dremel, and I'm going to remove most of this material just shy of probably, I'm going to say a little more than 1/4 inch. So I'm going to start to cut this hole out. I'm not going to the line yet. I'm just cutting everything else out for now, and you'll see why in a little bit. Next thing I'm going to do is just take a bit of a grinding piece from my Dremel and clean up those edges. I don't like any sharp edges. Even those edges aren't going to be exposed. I just think it leaves for sloppy work. So. Okay, so now it's back to the cutoff wheel. And what I'm going to begin to do now is we made that, if you remember, we made that permanent marker line all the way around. I'm going to start to cut slits in just to that line, not into the line, not beyond the line, not to the end of the line, just inside that line. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a ton of these, just going around the can, just a ton of these all along the edge, going right to that line. Okay, that's done for now. Now on to the next step, and I'm just going to set this side of can for a bit. I'm going to move on to this can. This is our Progressive soup can. What I'm going to do again is just take my permanent marker, and I'm going to make eight marks, okay, across from each other, and then correspondingly put 8 dots in here, and then drill those out just like I did the paint can in the beginning. Nothing too scientific here. I'm just eyeballing it. Now I'm going to put it right in the middle here, between this line and the rim. Just going down from the dot, and I'm just eyeballing it. I don't think there's an exact science to it. You can see that dot there. Next, I am going to go back to my little croquet setup here with my hammer and just a screw, and just put a little pilot hole in there before I drill those out. Got those done. Now I'm going back to the stepper bit. This time I'm going to make the hole a bit smaller, probably only going to 3/8. Again, I'm going to kind of keep this slow so I don't dent my can up as I do this. Okay, got those out. Those are all 3/8 inch holes, and I'm just going along inside and just kind of cleaning up any burrs I see, just to make sure I don't have anything to cut on later. Alright, this next step is where things kind of start to finally come together. And what you have to do is seat this can into this can. Now you may have to make some adjustments, but generally these tabs will start to push down, and you can actually maybe help them out a little bit to begin with, just to kind of get the process started. And you're going to just kind of gently seat this can down inside this other can. It's going to want to wiggle around on you, and that's okay. You want a nice snug fit. Well, it's pretty snug. If you wanted to make it more permanent, you could put some JB Weld around here, but it shouldn't fall out. There needs to be some airflow that can get to here. So what I'm going to actually do is cut off a portion of this just so it goes above these holes, because you want airflow to be able to go underneath. I ended up cutting off the bottom here and just cleaning up those burrs, but then also I put 4 slits in the side where my hardware cloth is going to go. So now you see if I seat it, once I seat it down, the air holes are going to be able to get up underneath where the fire, the combustion chamber is. Next, what I'm going to do is take this piece of hardware cloth and cut it into a circle just bigger than the can. Okay, so now that I've got this, just bigger than the outside, what I want to do is fashion it in such a way that it will be held in place by these slots here, and then trim off the excess. Gotta be careful of these sharp edges. All right, there she is. Now whatever's just sticking out here, I'm just gonna bend. Now we can seat it. There we go. Okay. Last step is really just that's to make the pot stand. Back to the step drill. First thing we're going to do is cut several 3/8 inch holes around this. I would say probably 10 or so, using the same methods as before. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in this just to this line on this tuna can lid. Okay, so you definitely want to clean this up, because this part you're going to actually come in contact with quite a bit. So I'm going to make sure that all of these burrs are off. And this is my pot stand, so what I want to be able to do is have a little opening here along this can somewhere where I can feed wood in from the top. So I'm just going to cut a square right in there. Okay, cut the hole out, and as far as I'm concerned now, this is complete. The only thing that is left is to test it. So let's get some wood and do that. One of the neat things I hear about this type of stove is just the type of fuel that it uses, and you can just literally pick up just these small sticks off the ground and use those to start your fire. And so I've done that. All this really small stuff that's real dry and real snappy. And then I've seen people light these a few different ways. I'm actually just going to take my lighter and light it from the bottom side. What has to happen are these sticks need to catch, and you'll notice you see a lot of smoke now. From what I understand, once the gasification process starts, you're not going to notice much smoke. In fact, what I'm already noticing right now, you can see these sort of jets coming up out of the pot, and the smoke is already starting to dissipate quite a bit. If you can see this or not, but what's happening is the fire inside creates smoke. The air that's getting sucked up from the bottom is getting superheated in the walls. And when it comes out those holes in the side, the superheated air, superheated smoke catches on fire and completely burns up the wood. There's no smoke. In fact, if I bring it back now, you can see there's no smoke on that thing. And if you look close, you can see the flames pouring out of those holes. If I had more wood in there, it'd probably be better. And this is the thing I kind of hear people complain about a bit, is getting this thing to stay lit, or at least getting used to getting enough sticks in there. It's one of those type of stoves, from what I understand, you gotta kind of babysit a little bit, just sort of keep feeding it. But I mean, using that much wood to cook with, to me, isn't all that big of a deal. I could pick that much up and just shove it in my pocket. Not a big deal at all. Let's do a boil test on this. I've got 2 cups of water on standby. We're going to see if I've got enough wood to boil 2 cups of water on this guy. So, alright, so here we go. Here's a test. I started that timer. Let's see if I can get this thing a boiling. Whoop. I have to keep feeding this thing, I can already tell. But you know what? Sure would be having to carry 2 pounds of fuel with you for a week. Give me a little tour of things here. You can kind of see those jets coming out. That's the wood gas pumping out of there. You know, because it's wood, I fully expect to be very unpredictable in terms of its cooking ability. I'm not getting smoke. The fuel is free. The fuel is ultra lightweight. The stove weighs a little bit. Definitely weighs more than the Fancy Feast stove. Wow, no smoke. That's amazing. You know, there was a little bit. I'm not gonna lie and say there was no smoke, but until, you know, it just sort of takes a little bit for the thing to get warmed up and the gasification process to start. Once that does, though, you know, no smoke comes out of anything that's below those inner holes there. All right, we're at 9 minutes, and we've got a boil. 9 minutes. Now, definitely not as fast as an alcohol stove, but the benefits to using something like this, you don't have to carry your fuel with you. My idea is to use a combination of this and alcohol so that I can have a fuel source, a way to cook, you know, wherever I'm at. That's how you make a wood gas backpacking stove. Works out pretty nice. If you like this, there's some other videos on how to build some neat stuff as I learn how to build it. I mean, again, one of the best tutorials I saw for making one of these came from the ultimatehang.com. I definitely suggest check out their website for information on how to make one of these, you know, and to just get some more of the science behind it. They had a really great article on there about wood gas stoves, so definitely go check that out. Also, there's some other YouTube videos out there that show you how to make these too that are really good. Definitely check those out. But in the meantime, just appreciate all your likes, comments, support, and we'll see you in the next video, and take care.